Hi everyone, it's Ash from FPL Hints, here with my first draft wildcard team reveal. Before I get into it, if you can like, share and subscribe, that will be greatly appreciated. So what I'm going to do is just give you a rundown on where I am so far in Fantasy Premier League as a whole. I'll give a breakdown of the transfers that I've already made, the team as it was before I activated my wildcard, and also the first draft wildcard as well. So let's stop beating around the bush, and I'm going to basically just get into why I've wildcarded. So from the get-go, I actually acted upon leaks that weren't good to my rank, to be honest with you. I bought in KDB ahead of game week 1. And the leaks that I didn't act upon, I brought in Gabriel, and yeah, the rest is history. So in terms of the transfers that I made, the reality was, even with the moves that I've made, I completely had to rejig my team before that game week 1 deadline. And it meant that from the get-go, I was pretty much on the back foot. So in terms of the first transfer that I made, I had brought in Alvarez for Pedro in game week 3. And I felt that as a whole, there's been a significant net gain there. So fairly pleased with that. And then the next move was a -4. Actually, it wasn't a -4. It was a 2 free transfers, Udogie and Sterling for Mitoma and Shaw. And in this instance, I benefited from the haul that I got from Mitoma. But then Sterling really hasn't done much. And with Udogie and Shaw, there's been a net gain of sorts there. So, yeah, reasonable enough there. And then Son and Fernandez, I think there has been somewhat of a net gain there as well, so I can't complain too much about that. And then lastly, the last transfers that I made, which were 3 transfers for game week 7, keeping the double game week in mind. I bought in Morris for Mubama, net gain there, and that's even before the second double game week game has taken place. And then Botman for Chilwell, and again, I made that transfer on, I think, Sunday night, I believe, and actually Saturday night, can't remember. It was last week. Chilwell was confirmed injured later in the week. And then ironically, Botman was also confirmed injured, but it is what it is, can't complain too much. And the last transfer, massive net gain, Trippier scored 12 points. Estupiñán ended up with a -2. So best transfer of the season was Trippier to Estupiñán. But as I've mentioned, I was on the back foot, and if I just get straight into my team as it is before the wildcard getting activated, Ederson has been a massive flop for my team. The reality is that in terms of like points per game, Areola, who was in my penultimate team alongside Turner for my cheap goalkeeping options, I bottled it in the end because I wasn't sure if Areola would start, and then got the leaks with Man City. Ederson has been a complete fail at 5.5 or 5.4 million. I wish I could have shipped him out a lot sooner. So he was the first player to leave my team once the wildcard got activated. In terms of the defenders, Kabore's been there from the get-go as a sub 1, and of course double game week is the only reason I've really kept him, and he's basically just been a dud sub for me, and he's actually auto subbed on as well for a couple of times. And then the transfers I mentioned with Botman, he replaced Chilwell, but then he got injured as well, so there's not really been any gains there. And then Trippier, like Newcastle, just come to the fore of late, and they've done a remarkable turnaround with form as a whole with the Champions League, and also winning that Brentford match. And looking at Newcastle's fixtures as well, you've got some green block fixtures there. I'd say a reasonable run right into December. So I think Trippier makes absolute sense, and I'm glad I've got him. Just wanted to make the most of the potential point swing Burnley match, and I benefited from that. And then onto the current midfield, Rashford has been a complete flop for me. I had that Bruno Rashford double up, didn't really gain much apart from one game week. And then Son, who has been very integral to Ange Ball and Spurs this season. And then Saka, who's been hit and miss, just disappointing. 4-0 win for Arsenal. He could have got a hat-trick, but was just a bit too generous with his penalties. And at 8.7 million, got a yellow flag, got City as well. I mean, can't complain too much about him. He's got, 22 points, 28, 32 points in his last 4 games, 40. He's been getting points. Can't really fault Saka for how he's done. 53 points from the 7 game weeks. And he's got a massively high ownership as well, 58%, but he's got that yellow flag now. And I know that a lot of managers had sold him ahead of game week 7. So luckily I kept him and really didn't have any choice. And on to my strike force right now. Morris, obviously a temporary buy for the double game week. Haaland, just because he's Haaland. And Alvarez, we've had from the get-go. I feel that with KDB being not in the team, he's massively benefited. And I've got no doubt that he'll be a regular starter, as Pep has alluded in many interviews. Until KDB is fit and running, you could say that he's relatively safe, and especially when he's scoring goals and is so integral to Man City in terms of chance creation as well. He makes complete sense. And then on to the bench as it is. Turner, sub goalkeeper. I think it started him once, didn't pay off. Sterling, who hasn't really benefited, and he's my sub 1 there, and he'll no doubt haul in the remaining game week 7 fixture. Udogie, at that price range of sub 5 million in attacking team, you can't go wrong. And then Baldock, just been a complete fail, dud sub. Got to get rid of him. So with that said, I'm going to come on to my squad for my first draft team reveal for this wildcard. And I've kind of alluded to how the team will look like based on the players that I want to get in. So first and foremost, I have retained Turner for this first draft wildcard. And apologies, before I continue, if you're able to like, share, and subscribe, that will be greatly appreciated. So thank you very much. And Turner in goal for the time being. Of course, with him being a potential starter, I've got another option at hand who I'll be utilizing as well. I just feel that in terms of the goalkeepers, there's Leno perhaps. There aren't really that many options, but when you've got the likes of Areola outscoring Edison in those first 7-8 game weeks, it just shows you that you've got to look for the budget options there. So Turner keeps his spot. Onto the defense. Trippier, who I'd already bought in and I've benefited from his returns. The question for me was that, is he still going to be as integral in terms of his attacking prowess? Newcastle United brought in a lot of new players this summer as well. And it's clear, of course, like with the Champions League commitments as well, he's got to balance it accordingly. And it's been working to Newcastle's favour, especially for the past few weeks. So I'm happy to keep him in this first wildcard squad. I know a lot of people actually sold Trippier on their wildcard, but he's got a massively high ownership, and for the time being, I can't really justify selling him. And if I did get rid of him on my wildcard, I'd probably get in a cheaper defender potentially. And then onto my other 2 defenders, Matty Cash. I've been a massive fan of his in FPL, and with Emery and how Villa are playing, there's so much that they can do. And again, they've got the European commitments as well. I do like his attacking prowess, and I just feel that with his price range, you can't really go wrong with Matty Cash. I think is he less than 5 million? Yeah, 4.8 million for a Unai Emery defender. Look at that, 6 points, 6 points. Of course, he had the 1 and the -1, but Matty Cash always seems to have this massive haul, like once in a while as well. So I'm happy to have him, not really for the clean sheets, but just for the attacking prowess, basically. And then Udogie for Spurs. I know there's a case for Porro as well, but I just feel that at that price range at 4.8 million, again, you can't go wrong. Spurs don't have any European football, so you'd expect him to start regularly, barring exceptional circumstances. On to my midfield. Now, Mohamed Salah, as you can see there, I've brought him in. And for those that have been following my live streams, I actually was on the cusp of buying Mohamed Salah in my FPL squad, and literally the deadline had been moved 15 minutes forward actually for one of the game weeks. I hit submit and the transfer didn't go through. So I would have benefited from those returns that Mohamed Salah had, but I just couldn't sell him because the game had literally stopped at that very moment. So Mohamed Salah is in my team finally. He's been a fantastic run of form. Of course, he blanked in that match against Spurs over the weekend, but you can't go wrong with him. You know what he's capable of. And there was this debate throughout pre-season and the early part of the season. Oh, you can't have Mohamed Salah and Haaland. You're only allowed to have one like superly expensive premium. I don't really buy into that, to be honest with you. Like, you buy the players who are getting the goal involvement, and if you can make it work, then so be it. So Mohamed Salah is in this first draft squad, and I'd be very hard pushed to not get him. For anyone that is on a wild card for game week 8, you've got to really bite the bullet to not buy him ultimately. Like, there's a lot of reasons. There's no other Liverpool player, to be honest with you, that I'd consider. It's literally Mohamed Salah or no one. And with the green block run of games, and of course, I've got no doubt that Salah, if he's going to start, he'll be in the Premier League rather than the Europa League matches. So that wouldn't even be an issue for him. So he's in my first draft squad, and I'm fairly content with that. On to Diaby. Big fan of his with that Villa team as well. He's been quietly racking up returns, 6.7 million. He's owned by less than 15% of FPL managers. I think it would have been a lot higher had other midfielders not been so been priced so cheaply, as it were. You've had the likes of Mitoma and Buemo, Sterling, and people just haven't got around to getting Diaby. But with his returns and Villa's form, you can't really go wrong there. So of course they had that battering in the first game and that defeat against Liverpool, but it almost seems as if with the other teams, they're clocking up some nice results. So yeah, he's yellow flagged, but at that price range, can't go wrong. And then I've got Son, provisional captain as well for game week 8. Brought him in just after his mega haul, and with Son, again, you just know what he's capable of, and he really had to step up and had big boots to fill when Harry Kane left for Bayern Munich. I'm fairly content with having him in my team, and he's a potential captain option as well. So Haaland, Salah, and Son, if I really want, I've got 3 captaincy picks. And where I'm ranked right now, I'm 3.0 million. I have to kind of go against the template to some degree, especially on captaincy as well. So if it means I've got 3 captaincy picks to choose from, I've got no problem, to be honest with you. On to my other midfield pick. It's Ward-Prowse, but he's actually a placeholder. And the player that I actually am going to get instead, if not him, it's Pedro Neto. I think Neto has not blanked since game week 2. So I think he's definitely an alternative option. It was a really tight 50-50 call for this first draft. I've got no doubt that in a second draft or subsequent drafts, Neto will come in. And the difference between Neto and Ward-Prowse is that I've got extra change in the bank, so I could upgrade some of my other options within the squad. So that is a move that I'd be looking to make. So yeah, Ward-Prowse, he was actually one of the players I was considering getting in early on as well when he was 6.0 million. He's now 6.3 million, and again, quietly chipping in with returns for West Ham, 35 points from his initial fixtures. So he's there. He's not I'm not saying he's a must-have for me. Like I said, at 6.3 million, he's an option, but I'd probably favour Pedro Neto more. Onto my front line, mentioned Haaland, of course. So I've seen some people are looking to sell him. He's got a 92% ownership, so I couldn't justify selling him. But I'm at a point where I can justify not captaining him because I need to go against the grain to just get traction on overall rank. So if there's a fixture like Arsenal at the Emirates, and then I've got Son with Luton, I'm going to go for Son as captaincy. It just makes perfect sense based on my rank. Whereas if I was ranked like 100k or like 300-400k, I'd probably be safer on captaincy. And my rule has effectively been that I am safe on captaincy, but when I'm chasing, I have to really go for like the alternative captain. So Haaland's in my team, but he may not be the perma captain. Alvarez, so long as De Bruyne isn't in the team for Man City, Alvarez is there. And then Watkins, again, I'll be honest with you, I completely overlooked him. I can't say that I even considered him as an option for my team during pre-season as well. But like at 8 million, got a massively high ownership, well over 20%. And he's been quietly chipping in with goals. That mega haul, that 23-point haul, just, I think it destroyed my rank purely because of the 1 in 5 that bought him and had rank gains as a result of it. And then he's banged against Chelsea, got something against Palace, Burnley, Everton, Newcastle. It almost seemed as if with him, where he was getting like assists in those first few games, and then up until game week 5 he hadn't scored, and then along came the Chelsea fixture and the Brighton fixture, and then the accounts, the floodgates open, and he just couldn't go wrong with him as like an option. And fair play to anyone who's had Watkins from the get-go, but I feel that I can justify him. Of course, there's European fixture. I do have the triple up now with Villa, but I thought to myself, you know what? I don't think many people will have a Villa triple up as it was right now, and had to make the most of it before the price rises. So no complaints there. Onto the bench, talked about the goalkeeping situation. I had to get rid of Ederson. Been an absolute fail for my team. And even for managers who had him last season, he just simply couldn't justify like having him. He's just not been keeping the clean sheets. And you do wonder whether Ederson's going to be at Man City again next season. He's just simply not been up to it. But Areola, like I said, he has outscored Ederson this season quietly by 5 or 6 points. And then you look at the points he's got, a 3, a 10, a 5, okay, 2 points against Luton, 4 against City, again, a blank against Liverpool as you'd expect, and then Sheffield United. He's picking up points. So again, with that West Ham, you would have considered like the European football being a potential adverse factor for them as well. But clearly, he's actually done remarkably well, and he has well and truly dislodged Fabianski from that goalkeeping spot, really. So yeah, with Areola and Turner, I know there's questions about Turner potentially losing his spot, but he hasn't lost it yet. And if he was to lose it, then you've got Areola, fair play. Now the bench, I have to admit, it looks very weak, and these are just placeholders right now. This is not my final draft, and it was just more of a first draft, so I can fit in the players that I wanted in my first 11 right now. But like I've said, if I do get rid of Ward-Prowse and I upgrade, I switch to Neto, I've got 0.7 million free. But then, like with Nakamba, I could easily get Nakamba out and get Anderson of Newcastle United in. And I actually made a video at the start of the season where I said that there's a complete dearth in 4.5 midfielders, and I was shocked that Anderson last season actually did relatively well in terms of points for midfielders in that price bracket. But I just had Nakamba as a not just a dud sub really, but Anderson could easily fill that void as well. But then the worry is that you get Anderson of Newcastle, and then you want to triple up on Newcastle. Like I had Botman and Trippier, but then you want to push to like Wilson as well at some point. Then you've got Anderson. That's why I was a bit reluctant to have Anderson, but I think he's a 4.5 option as well. So Nakamba's a dud sub. Kabore, again, there's not much you can really expect from him, apart from the odd attacking return here and there, perhaps, and the odd clean sheet. And beyond the double game week, there's not really much else going for him. So with the extra 0.7 million, if I was to get rid of Ward-Prowse instead to get Neto, I'd easily upgrade Kabore to perhaps like a Palace defender, or even actually like an Arsenal defender as well. I think Gabriel is now starting matches, so I could easily get Gabriel in as a defensive option, so that wouldn't be an issue for me. But then it would mean that formation-wise, which I'll just get into, I can't go 3-4-3 unless I rotated some of my defenders. And then lastly, I needed a 4.0 million defender, and I think that's one thing that I will have, that if I was to um, like I yeah, if I was to get Neto in instead of Ward-Prowse, then I would upgrade one of my 4.0 defenders. But Al Dakhil for Burnley, again, there's not really much going there apart from the minutes, really. So yeah, I wouldn't want Kabore and Al Dakhil in a final game week 8 wildcard draft. But for now, they're just placeholders. I think it would make sense, just for balance, if I upgraded one of them by getting Gabriel in. I think that's the only Arsenal defender I could really push to in terms of budget. But that's something I'd need to have a think on. But in terms of formation, I wasn't even expecting a 3-4-3 being viable at all. But I don't think anyone's actually had a 3-4-3 formation that I've seen at all this season, in fact, as well. And perhaps some that have activated their wild cards in game week 8 have also come to the conclusion that a 3-4-3 is the way forward potentially. But in this instance, I feel that a case can be made, albeit it's at the expense of a quality 4th or 5th midfield option. But then look, I've got Salah and I've got Son as well. But I feel that there is a bit of imbalance in the midfield, which is a worry. So I think downgrading, I don't even like the word downgrading, but Ward-Prowse to Neto and then upgrading one of these players would make sense, so that my formation isn't a strict 3-4-3. I could perhaps flex to a 4-4-2, really, but I can't. I need to start one of those. Well, I need to start all 3 of those forwards. So it really is 4-3-3 or 3-4-3 in this situation, really. And then onto the defense, like I've mentioned, fairly happy with those as well. My focus is with the defenders. I don't really care about clean sheets. It's about the attacking returns ultimately. So there you have it. That is my first draft wildcard team. Like I've said, the wildcard is activated. This is not a illustration. I've done an illustration in a past stream. I think it was for game week 5 or thereabouts. But I am active with my wildcard, and I am looking to go against the grain. Need to make up a lot of lost ground in terms of starts. Probably my worst ever start to an FPL season that I can remember, being ranked 3 million at this stage of the season. And it's forcing me in some ways to be a bit more aggressive with the decisions that I'm making, because I can't just copy the template anymore. I have to really think outside the box and just do a lot of calculated risks. But the wildcard made absolute sense. The team had run its course, and it would have been nice to have wildcarded during the international break, but then I didn't want to be in a situation where a price rise would have meant I can't get Cash, I can't get Diaby, I can't get Watkins. So that's where I've landed ultimately. Let me know in the comments below what you think. And as always, if you're able to like, share, and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. Take care and all the best. Thank you. Bye.